Welcome to Bamcast, the Black Art Matters podcast, featuring Darius Colquitt. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, gentlethems, to the BAM digital platform. We are so excited. And if you aren't, I know I am, because I get to talk to one of my favorite people in the world right now, who I need you to understand. I've been watching this young lady. I was gonna say child, but you are far from a child. You've excelled childhood. I will never disrespect you like that. I've been watching this young lady do her thing from, oh my God. How old were you when I first met you?
14 or 15, I think.
Right. That's what I thought. They were part of this great youth program that I was the head of. And from there, I've just been watching them set little fires everywhere and just keep this same burning. And I cannot wait to talk to them because I know they have some nuggets for y'all that you are going to enjoy. So without further ado, everybody, please meet one of my favorite people, Zsana Hoskins. Welcome to the BAM digital platform. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really glad that you asked me to do this. I'm excited.
Look, I'm glad you said yes because I know how busy your life has become. I know how many amazing things you have done over the course of the last few years being away at Howard, correct?
Yes.
Yes, that is. I especially wore my red, my gray, and my blue today.
Yes.
I did it on purpose because I'm like, I'm with a Howard individual and I got to show respect.
Of course.
So I got to ask you, what is it like having left the West Michigan Dome, as I call it, more of a vortex in many ways? How does it feel being out there at Howard?
I always knew I didn't want to stay in Grand Rapids, so I was super excited. And then I'm a 2020 graduate, so I had to stay back that year. So by the time I got to my sophomore year and they're like, all right, y'all come on campus, I was out the door. So ever since, I just kind of took off running, and I've been chilling. It took a minute for the DC area to grow on me, but I really do enjoy it. And it's been, you know, it's been a journey of learning the area, and also like my progression of like becoming comfortable in that area has also been my progression of like moving from 18, 19 adulthood to like, okay, the other side of young adulthood, being a senior now. So yeah, I really love being able to have a space away from home to kind of cultivate my own things that I have going on. Yeah.
Awesome. And what has been your favorite thing about now being in DC?
I think it's just a really great space. Even though it's not as much chocolate city as it was, it's still really rich in culture and history. There's so much to do. There's always some type of music festival, some type of protest, something, whatever you're into, something is going on. I love it. The people there, the food is pretty good too. I'm a museum person. All the museums are free. I love to go and like learn about the city. I like just learning about the space that I'm in. And then being in the DMV area, which because there's DC and then there's the surrounding areas.
Right.
It's been really interesting. It's a lot of Blackness going on there too. So I just really love the culture of it all. I think I didn't really expect that. Of course, I thought, okay, I'm going to HBCU, definitely going to be around some culture, but the surrounding area itself, I wasn't really thinking about that. And I think that's something that kind of surprised me for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think DC, you think politicians, Capitol Hill, the Washington Monument. You hardly ever think of the Smithsonian, even though that is like the place for it. But being in one of the most walkable cities, but also one of the most, like you said, culturally rich Black areas, I know that has to have a huge impact on the way that you operate in your artistry and the way you tackle what you go into in school. So I have to ask you this question directly. Let's say a 5-year-old walked up to you and said, excuse me, what do you do for a living? Or what do you do as a person? Or what do you do as an artist? What would you say to that child?
That's a good question. That's why I'm still trying to find the words. So, like, the thing about being a multi-hyphenate is like, okay, but how do I explain this to other people? But I would just say, at my core, I am a storyteller. So it's not just journalism. It's not just music, which is the two things I'm studying. It's finding a way to mix all those things together, all those art forms together to be able to tell a story. I feel like I'm getting the hang of being able to do that effectively, but I would say at the heart, I'm a storyteller.
I love that. I mean, at the heart of anything that we do, there's a story involved. So you have to think about that process as you're creating. Now, again, I've known you since you were a wee baby thing, but the people don't know. So,
Right.
when would you say that you were bitten by the artistic bug? When did it happen?
Oh, I think I was born with it because I
Mm.
just don't remember. I've come from a very artistic family. My mother danced from the time that she was 2 years old until she graduated college. My father is a songwriter and a musician, and my grandma was artistic in ways. Like, I just have so much of it around me. But all my family is very into music, whether they can sing or not. We are something, and so music is just very just deep in my household. My mom would be like, all right, y'all see this music video? Line up, about to learn this dance. So it's just, that was my house. And I just always remembered it being that way. As far as when I feel like I felt the urge, though, to kind of join the party and actually start to become an artist myself, I wrote like a little song when I was 8 and I really liked to sing, watching Disney Channel, all that. So all those influences kind of made me feel like, oh, I'm gonna do it too. I'm gonna be on TV. So probably like 8 or 9, but I feel like as far as when I was interested, I was always interested, but when I knew I could do it, was a little different. It's probably like 8, 9, 10 when I started to ask my mom, I want to do this, I want to be in this show. And one thing about it, she always listened to me with what I wanted to do. And so that's why I feel comfortable, to do that now. But yeah, very young age, like third or fourth grade, probably. And I was like, okay, this is something I could do. I could get on stage. I could be just like them. From there, it's been a journey.
And I gotta say, shout out to all the moms that listen when their kids say, "I can do that,"
Hmm.
because that's what makes the difference. There are a lot of kids who have been screaming, "I can do that," and they're not being listened to.
Hmm.
They're not being heard out or even given the opportunity to grow. So I got
Yeah.
to shout out Mama because yo, you've been a champion. I don't even know if she's
Yes.
there. She probably ain't in the room, but I'm gonna shout her out anyway. We love
Yes.
you. We love everything you do
Yes.
to make this thing keep moving. Now, as a growing artist and as somebody who, like you said, you were a graduate of the class of 2020, that year has changed a lot. It has changed the
Hmm.
landscape of how we interact as people. It's changed the landscape of the world. But I do know that as an artist, as a creative, a
Hmm.
creator, it has also molded and shaped all of us or altered us in ways that are uncomparable to a lot of other life things. So, how did 2020 change you or your artistry or even the way that you approach art?
That's a good question. I think for me, it was really affirming. Um, and this is probably not an answer a lot of people give. It was affirming for me to see the effect that art and the fine arts had on people during that time. I think it was a lot of people's joy during that time. And so I think I started to really take it more seriously. Growing up, of course, I was involved in theater and I was singing, I was doing all these things. And I kind of felt like people still would be like, oh, that's so great. And a lot of people don't know the work that it takes to do those art forms. And
Hmm.
I think I
Hmm.
kind of felt like, it kind of influenced why I didn't go full fledged with my major being music. And I kind of was like, I'm gonna still study it, but like it's my minor because I felt like it wasn't something that I could pursue like that because people make it seem like it's so secondary, like it's just especially compared to STEM and like all these other things. My high school was very focused on STEM, but seeing the effects, I think that was a time where I truly understood the effect. Of course, my grandma would always tell me like, you never know who could be listening when you sing, who that could touch. But to see those art forms actually do that during the pandemic made me be like, oh, this is like I'm gonna stand firm on this because this is the
Yeah.
gift God gave me, and it does make a difference. And so I decided like I'm not gonna treat it as what people think it should be. This is serious. This is helping people. It's changing lives. Just because I'm doing it in a different way than a doctor doesn't mean it's not as important. And we saw that during the pandemic. Essential workers, whatever. But it still was changing people's lives and helping them throughout that time. And I think I took that with me throughout the pandemic, and that's kind of how I go about the work that I do, whether it's, the journalism or the music, any art form, fine arts, all of that. I kind of move forth with that type of energy.
Absolutely. I'm sitting here like listening to you give this amazing answer. You've always been eloquent. Like that's how you've always been from childhood to now. But like seeing you have, I'm touched because I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. I really am. I'm trying not to cry. But
oh my gosh.
I entirely agree with that notion. Like that period in time showed and proved that artistry is probably one of the only things that can help us get by in some of the worst periods in time. The thing about theater is that it was created to be a documentarian space, that this is where we build all of these historic notions that we go back to. That's why everybody always does a revamp of a show and revamps, because there's something in it from a historical standpoint that still makes sense today. But even down to the basic idea of frequencies in music, like hearing a violin at the right hour on the right tone, even if it was just one lone person on a balcony somewhere while everybody else was just outside listening, that changed the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it allowed people to feel like they could grow and be more. And honestly, I agree with you. A lot of people were upset about being stuck inside. Oh no, I feel like that revealed a lot. And if you were paying attention, you caught it.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, I love that. Okay, so I have to ask you, because you are doing so much. I mean, from music to journalism to, just changing the world every little inch that you can. What do you feel will be your pinnacle point? What is the thing that when you get to it, you'll know, oh, I've made it to where I need to be. I've made it to where I know I want to be. What's your pinnacle? Or have you figured it out yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like I'm trying to find those in like a smaller short-term goal, because I don't want to feel like, oh, I'm not there yet when I'm doing like the most amazing things and people are like, girl, but you like, come on now. So I'm trying to find like shorter term goals. I think one of them is being a graduate of Howard University, and I only have one semester left. So that's more of a short term one, but I do always tell people I eventually want to have an EGOT. So hopefully that can be like my pinnacle. And I want to have my own, like, I think even maybe before EGOT, I want to have my own, everything production company, network, record label, because I think one of the things which, this is very relevant, especially being on BAM Digital, having our own platforms to showcase our own talent and showcase our own stories and showcase our own amazing artists who aren't just the mainstream same people you're going to see all the time. Because I think that's one of the reasons why I went into journalism, because there's so many people who we don't know about in this industry who are killing it, who need that type of coverage. So I think when I'm able to do that effectively on my own platform, then it's like, okay, yep, this is what I wanted to do. That's why I went to college.
I love that. Just in your own way, you were trying to build like the 2000s version of like Flavor magazine from Living Single. Like you are trying to be your own Khadijah if you can.
Yes, and I love seeing there's so many characters that kind of shape that I watched during the pandemic too, that really pushed me to be like, this is what you gotta do when you get to that point. And I always knew I wanted to do that, but I think seeing it was like, okay, yeah. And I think that's the goal for me. That's kind of why I wanted to go into journalism, like I said, because I felt like growing up, I didn't always get the coverage, or like I saw so many other talented people. I'm like, where's the coverage? Like even in high school, how much attention they put on sports versus the musical. It's like, well, we were doing such great things
too. Yeah, absolutely. We will be talking about some BAM Digital stuff based on some things you just said, but that's business for later. For now, I gotta ask you this question, just because everybody who's an artist, I think it's important that you think about this as we're going. So you are now at a point where you are still, like you said, figuring it out, but there will always be a younger version of you somewhere in the world. So if you could speak back to little 6-year-old you and say something that would change or help you along the way, what would you have told yourself or some other child that might be in the same trajectory as you?
I think I would affirm that you can do all the things. I feel like it's so focused that you have to choose, like, what do you want to be? And it's so hard to kind of come up as somebody who has several, most people have several talents and they might not know it, but to come up as somebody who knows what they want to do and it's several different things, trying to find a pocket of like, well, how can I like do all these things? And I think I kind of was wrestling with that, but I didn't really understand it. I would just tell myself, you can do all those things and it's possible. And just because other people might not want to do all those things doesn't make you the odd one out. And that it's possible to still, to not be like what they say, you know, master of none. You can master all those things.
Mm.
Because I've had somebody say that to me before. You can be a jack of all trades and master of all. You don't have to just pick one. You can, work your way up. And if you have multiple gifts, I think you should use all your gifts. I think I would just affirm that.
Yes, absolutely. If we can talk about how we need multiple streams of income to survive, then we can
Right,
absolutely
especially in
talk
this
about how
economy.
then we should absolutely be talking about how we access the multiple gifts that we have within us in order
Exactly.
to, affect change. Uh, here's a question for you. What is one common misconception people might have about either the music scene that you are now a part of, the journalism scene that you are now a part of, or just the arts in general? What's
Mhm.
one misconception that you can just throw out the window for people right now?
I'll break off into journalism because I think this is something that's really common. And I constantly am telling my mom and my family these things. Journalism is so much more than just getting on the internet and asking people questions, walking around with a mic, as we see all these content creators doing. And that's fine. I love citizen journalism because it helps us. Citizen journalism is one of the things that got us through the Black Lives Matter movement and all
Mhm.
these different movements. But I think it's a lot more. There's like a code of ethics. There's all these things. But I think once somebody's able to master that and kind of mix in that element of storytelling is where the real journalism comes in. And real journalism, the other thing is it's not just hard news. There's real journalists who are covering things that aren't just the White House and politics. And there real journalism can be other topics, and that's something that I kind of struggle with studying journalism in DC. A lot of people automatically assume like, oh, you want to be a politics journalist, you want to be a hard news journalist, but I don't. I want to cover entertainment and music and fine arts.
Mm.
So I think that's another misconception is a lot of people kind of are like, oh, you must want to do this, or they kind of discredit you because you're not doing that. But real
Right.
journalism just means you're following the certain format and the certain ethics, and actually you have that real storytelling in it in a nutshell. And I feel like a lot of people aren't always like appreciative of the journalists who are doing the work outside of the White House and outside of politics and CNN. There's some really cool. I love checking in on the different entertainment journalists that I look up to, and they're doing real work too. So those are the things I would say about journalism. I feel like people don't always get it, especially in the year of like the Shade Room and Hollywood Unlocked and all of that.
Mhm.
It can get kind of blurred.
Who would you say are some of your favorite journalists that you look up to right now?
My favorite is Gia Peppers. If you know who Gia Peppers is, she's been doing entertainment journalism for a long time. And she's just very Black woman, very much like really amazing. I also obviously I love Oprah growing up, but there's a lot of the different journalists on Apple Music and Complex that I look up to because that's the type of journalism I want to do. But Gia Peppers is my favorite of all time. I love to watch her content. It's just super, super good storytelling and really cool to watch. And sometimes it can be refreshing from the hard news. And that's kind of what I really enjoy about it. So yeah.
Love it. All right. What's one thing right now in this space that we're in that you feel you need to say to people or that you want people to know? It can be
Mm.
about you, it can be about life in general, it can be a message that you want to pass on. What is something that you just need people to hear right now?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind, and I talked about this before to some of my peers in a post, but so much can change in a matter of time. I feel like Like when they say you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready, it's so true. Because you never know what opportunities may come towards you. You never know, and don't doubt yourself. I learned that a lot in these past couple of years. So I would say stay ready so you don't have to get ready, especially in this business. There's so many opportunities. And to be ready means that it's, sometimes these people who are looking for talent, are looking for things going on, are not, you're ready. They see you. It's like, okay, I have something you could do right now. And you just are able to get a job, opportunity, something so much quicker because maybe somebody else wasn't ready and you were, and you had this X, Y, and Z, and you were the person for the job too. Oh, there you go. I've learned that. And I feel like it could definitely be helpful for a lot of people. Apply it to whatever industry, whatever art form. I feel like as long as you stay ready, whether that's like your resume, like your professional stuff, whether it's like your technique, your skills, like always, always, always practice and be ready. I feel like that alone could put you over so many other people, make you stand out over so many other people. I've learned that throughout college, throughout different experiences I've had. I feel like it's always that make sure you're ready, make sure your game face is on, because stuff happens so quick in a matter of time.
Absolutely. Y'all, stay ready. That's it. That is it. All right. So I'm going to jump into my favorite part of the interview. I love this part of the interview. So there was a show that used to exist a while ago called Inside the Actor Studio with a gentleman by the name of James Limpton. May he rest in peace. He had a list of questions that he would ask every person that he interviewed. It was kind of like a connection exercise of sorts. If everything else was about the career and about, everything that's, brewing within that side of life, this is human connection, if you will. So here we go. First question. What is your least favorite word?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if I have one.
I knew this would be a challenge as a journalism person.
It's very challenging. Maybe no. I don't like when people tell me no. I grew up as the only girl. I'm very spoiled. I don't like when people tell me no. I might not show it, especially in a professional setting, but I'm gonna figure out a way to turn a no into a yes.
That's how that works. So I guess the most logical question becomes, what is your favorite word?
Favorite word? Maybe like love. I feel like, I don't know if there's a setting that you could say love in negative. I don't know. It just seems like such a positive, warming word. I love the word love. I feel like it's just super positive. Yeah.
What drains you?
Ooh, I've had to learn to set boundaries. I feel like when I don't set boundaries, I'm super drained. And just to kind of run on empty and just, I have to have my self-care and I have to be able to like have time to myself, set those boundaries. Super draining. Like, especially in college, I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, you're a student. Do you want to help with this? You want to do this? I'm like, I need just some time to myself. So not having boundaries and just running and doing things for everybody, being a people pleaser in short is very draining.
What feeds you?
I think my art and my work, the things that I'm doing help to feed me because I really do enjoy the work that I'm doing, as well as my support system. Being around the people I love like really gives me a boost and like a boost of motivation and energy too.
Beautiful. What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh, I love laughter, especially like from my loved ones. Some of them have really funny laughs, and I love like, it's gonna sound like super like big headed. I love applause. I like hearing people cheer. I do.
Look, anybody
In the
judging you
most,
here?
I was gonna say in the most like humble way ever. Because it's like, especially when you worked hard on something, it's like people love this. This is great. This is an amazing feeling to have people cheering for your work.
In any capacity, hearing a thank you, be it small or huge, changes your life.
Yes.
So I have to ask the opposite. What sound or noise do you hate?
Ooh, anything screechy or scratchy. Like, we don't really have chalkboards anymore, but like obviously anything that's similar to like the nails on a chalkboard, I I can't stand it. Anything too screechy. Sometimes like you'll hear like an animal or something like that make that noise. It's like, what is going on outside? I don't want to hear it.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't going into music or journalism, what profession would you like to attempt?
That's a good question. It's kind of hard. I did say once that I would have liked to be a vet. I was good at like science and math and STEM in high school and growing up. I just don't know if I could really deal with like all the fluids and things doctors have to deal with, but I really do love animals. So I would say probably a vet.
Got you. What profession, under no circumstances ever in life or in the afterlife even, would you not do? What would you never do?
Oh, I don't think I could do anything like accounting or anything like finance. I'm just not a math person. You really would have it had to be the last thing on earth, and I'm super broke and I don't got no other option. I'm just not into math at all.
All right. As a musician, what is your favorite song or composition right now?
Ooh, right now, that's a good question. Right now, I'm listening to a lot of Christmas music. One of the Christmas albums that I listened to growing up all the time that my grandma played was the Carpenters Christmas album. It's so cool because the transitions are so seamless. And everybody likes to play with their transitions today, but this was like back in the day. This is not you know, it's not technology. They were playing this. So I really like listening to like real instrumentation. I love that album. And I'm also something newer. Well, I'm listening to Victoria Monet's Jaguar. Brandy has a Christmas album out right now. I love Christmas music during the Christmas season. I feel like I can't really listen to too much of anything else, or I'm not gonna feel like in place. So I love Christmas music.
Got you. Got you. What song or composition do you feel right now is super overrated and you're like, y'all can stop doing that now?
Ooh, I don't like to say too many things are overrated. However, a lot of the stuff I hear on TikTok is like super repetitive. I'm hearing a lot of the same songs, which then can kind of be like, okay, a lot of the song Water by Tyler, I liked it, but like now y'all overdoing it. And I really like Tyler as an artist, but like, why y'all running her song through the ground? I don't want to keep hearing it. That song, and then it's like everybody's doing a cover. I hear a lot of like the Taylor Swift music too, which no shades to Taylor or the Swifties, but like I don't like when they be trying to make it seem like her music is super best when there's so many other artists that are like killing it and doing their thing. Some of her new songs actually are really nice, but like her fan base sometimes ruins it.
I totally get that. Yeah. As a journalist,
Mm-hmm.
has there ever been a piece that you've read that's affected you in a way that you didn't expect?
Yeah, a lot of times. I recently, and this one went viral, read a piece on the Atlantic that talked about the genocide in Congo as if this was like something positive. That I can't forget that. It's sitting with me like to this day. But
Wow.
during the Black Lives Matter movement, I read a lot of pieces that really affirmed me being in the right space, studying the right thing, because a lot of the coverage is not diverse, it's not broad, and it's not, it's all from one perspective. A lot of the stories I read about George Floyd. I recently read a story too about a boy who is in Texas who also was being discriminated against because his hair. A lot of the stories I see with me are like racial because I think sometimes it either hits me where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening, or it's just not written from the right perspective. And I think that happens too often.
Has there been a piece that has maybe renewed your energy or your confidence in journalism and made you believe, okay, there are still some of us that are out here doing the good work?
Yeah, I see a lot of coverage, whether it's like entertainment or just kind of like politics or different things. I see a lot of the student journalists on my campus, and maybe not just on my campus, but other students in DC or from other HBCUs that are doing stories on real world events. I'm an editor now for one of our publications at school, and I see so many students writing about things. And I'm like, wow, this is what we need to be pushing. This is the type of work that everybody needs to be reading. And of course I see like national stories too, but I think it hits different when it comes from your peers and the people who are around you and the people who are learning with you. Because if this is what it's like now before we even graduate, like these are heavy hitters. Like, so we had a lot of stories recently about, some of the gun violence in the DC area, and even on Howard's campus, there's a lot of violence that's been going around from locals. And so some of those stories were really heavy hitting. And we even have a lot of students do like video news packages as well about those things. And I feel like our student journalists, probably those were the ones that hit different for me.
All right. This is going to be a hard one for me because, again, watched you grow.
Okay.
Zsana Hoskins, what is your favorite curse word?
Oh, no. My mom's going to be like, I don't know. I'll probably say the B word because I feel like sometimes it's not a cuss word when I'm listening to my music and it's like super like easy to hear it. Definitely probably the B word. All the other ones, I feel like if I hear it, especially if I hear somebody say it, I'm like, oh, but the other ones, B word, I'm like, okay. I feel like that one is real. I'm mellow with that one sometimes.
All right, cool. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, if heaven does exist, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I mean, not verbatim, but I would just hope he would tell me like that that I made him proud, that I've done what I was supposed to do on this earth, because I don't know what I'm gonna end up doing. I don't even know if what I'm supposed to do has anything to do with my work and what I'm doing for a living, but I will hope that I made him proud and that I fulfilled my purpose in what it is that I was supposed to
do. Well, everybody, that's Zsana. Thank you again so much for taking the time out of your schedule, which I know is insane, to just sit with me for a sec, catch up. And I mean, everybody, you already saw what I've been seeing for years. This is one of the most amazing people in the world, and y'all need to know who this is because they're going to be doing way more after this is all, falling apart and gone away. So get to know her name right now. All right? Zsana, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. We always celebrate you here. You know that. And thank you, folks, for sticking around and checking out this amazing episode. We're glad you're with us. Make sure you check in with us on BAM Digital real soon. Till then, peace.
This has been another episode of Bamcast, the Black Art Matters podcast, offered to you exclusively through BAM Digital, a subdivision of BAM Talent. To find out more, go to our website, www.bamtalent.org.